I have been informed to talk about the nitrogen cycle, and this has been tested in this question numbered 23. And the question says or reads: the diagram shows part of the nitrogen cycle, and Roman 1 of that question reads: name the processes W, X, and Z. And Roman 2 reads: which two organisms make process Y successful? So I'll first be able to inform you that nitrogen cycle means the cycling of nitrogen and its associated compounds between the atmosphere and the soil. The cycling of nitrogen and its compounds between the atmosphere and the soil. So there's a way in which nitrogen can get removed from the environment and get fixed into the ground, and from the ground into the plants, and from the plants into animals, from the animals into the ground when they die, from the ground and again in the atmosphere in form of nitrogen or any other form of what you can have as nitrogen. And at the end of the day, that has to all encompass what we refer to as nitrogen cycle. So for example, you need to know this. How can we be able to actually remove nitrogen from the atmosphere? Number one, there is what you call nitrogen fixing bacteria. Nitrogen fixing bacteria is also referred to as rhizobium bacteria. This type of bacteria is able to convert nitrogen into ammonia, and the ammonia is later converted into ammonium compounds. And later on, these ammonium compounds are fixed into the root nodules of leguminous plants like the groundnuts. By the same rhizobium bacteria. So at the end of the day, the rhizobium bacteria and these leguminous plants have a symbiotic type of relationship. So this type of relationship is referred to as symbiotic. Others will actually pronounce it as symbiotic. So a symbiotic type of relationship is a relationship where two or more living organisms mutually live together and benefit from each other. Just like the way the bacteria in our intestines can be able to actually acquire shelter and nutrients from us and as well help us produce or synthesize vitamins such as vitamin K, which is actually well utilized in the blood clotting process, because that vitamin K helps in the synthesis of a very important protein called prothrombin that helps in the blood clotting process. Now, so we've actually shown how fast nitrogen can get removed from the atmosphere by the nitrogen fixing bacteria, for example, the rhizobium bacteria, that can convert that nitrogen into ammonia, and later the ammonia can get converted into the ammonium compounds. The ammonium compounds can get fixed into the root nodules of these leguminous plants by the same bacteria to get used in the manufacturing of proteins in these plants. Now, apart from that, the other way in which you can actually be able to have nitrogen getting removed from the atmosphere is through what you call lightning. So this is the non-living way in which nitrogen can get removed from the atmosphere. How? Nitrogen gas can actually combine with oxygen, and this can give us what you call nitrogen 4 oxide or nitrogen dioxide. So this is a gas, that's nitrogen gas. This is a gas, that is oxygen gas. This is nitrogen 4 oxide or nitrogen dioxide. Nitrogen 4 oxide or nitrogen dioxide. Okay, so this nitrogen 4 oxide can then later be able to combine with water or rainwater, and lightning can actually be able to get used as a catalyst. Lightning getting used as a catalyst. So that gives us nitric 5 acid and nitric 3 acid. So this is nitric 5 acid, this one, and this is nitric 3 acid. Okay, nitric 5 with a 3 at the bottom of oxygen, then nitric 3 with a 2 at the bottom of oxygen. So nitrogen 4 oxide combines with rainwater or dissolves in rainwater or water in the soil to give us nitric 5 acid and nitric 3 acid. The nitric 3 acid can further get oxidized to give us the nitric 5 acid. Look at that. Can further get oxidized to give us the nitric 5 acid. So we can literally be able to actually balance this equation by being able to actually allow ourselves to end up having, so we can put here 2, okay, and that is actually able to balance the equation. That is 2 nitrogen atoms, 1, 2, 2 hydrogen atoms, 1, 2, 4, 5, 3 plus 2, that is 5. Okay, the equation is balanced. So this is a gas, this is a liquid, this is an aqueous solution, this is an acid, and this is also an aqueous solution. So at the end of the day, we are interested in the nitric 5 acid, So the nitric 5 acid has nitrate ions, which are readily absorbed by the plants and will get used in the manufacturing of proteins by these plants, because majorly nitrates are actually absorbed by the plants. So whenever lightning has to end up getting experienced, that will actually in itself act as a catalyst. It readily combines nitrogen gas and oxygen gas to give us nitrogen 4 oxide. The nitrogen 4 oxide combines with water or dissolves in the rainwater to give us nitric 5 acid and nitric 3 acid. Nitric 3 acid can further get oxidized to give us nitric 5 acid. Then at the end of the day, we should know this. We should be able to know this, that the nitric 5 acid contains nitrate ions. These ions are absorbed by the plant because when it is raining, this rain percolates through the soil, containing thus the nitrate ions. These ions can get absorbed by the roots of this plant, then get used in the making of food. Now, you'll possibly be able to actually get this as well. Nitrogen gas can also be able to get converted into ammonia, and this can get done by the free living algae such as chlorella, nostoc, and anabenia. So chlorella, nostoc, and anabenia are the 3 types of algae that can convert nitrogen into ammonia. This process is called nitrification. Okay, and further, you can still as well be able to have Azotobacter and Clostridium as living bacteria, being able as well to convert nitrogen gas into ammonia. So the algae, chlorella, nostoc, and anabenia can actually be able to do what? To convert nitrogen into ammonia. These are algae, the free living algae. So they can convert nitrogen into ammonia. Or the free living bacteria like the Azotobacter and the Clostridium can also convert nitrogen into ammonia. The process is called nitrification. Further, ammonia can get converted into nitrite. The process nitrification. Who can actually be able to convert ammonia into nitrite? We have what you call Nitrosomonas and Nitrococcus. So Nitrosomonas and Nitrococcus bacteria can convert now further ammonia into nitrite. The process is called nitrification. And then now the nitrite can get converted into nitrate. The process is called again nitrification. Who does this? Nitrobacter. It's a bacterium as well. So nitrogen is converted to ammonia by free-living algae, chlorella, nostoken, and abenia. You see? And later, you can have the nitrogen getting converted into ammonia by the free-living bacteria like the Azotobacter and the Clostridium. The ammonia, and the process I've actually told you, is called nitrification. Then the ammonia can get converted into nitrite by a process called nitrification, by which bacteria, Nitrosomonas and Nitrococcus. Then the nitrite can get converted into nitrate. So you have nitrate and nitrite. You should get the difference. The nitrite can get converted into the nitrate by a process called nitrification, by which bacteria, Nitrobacter. And these nitrates can again be able to get absorbed by the plants, then get used to the manufacturing of what? Proteins. This is now what we call the nitrogen cycle. You can further be able to get a situation whereby plants have now absorbed the nitrates. So this is what we call absorption. After absorbing the nitrates, they are now using these nitrates to manufacture what? Proteins. They actually make proteins, use some of these proteins, then store the excess proteins. Once they have stored the excess proteins, plants feed on them. When plants feed on them, they also obtain those proteins. At the end of the day, the plants and the animals die. And on dying, they decompose. So we can have plants and animals all dying. After dying, they decompose. Now, who does the decomposition? What is decomposition? You're actually feeding on a dead decaying matter. And at the end of the day, you break it down, and that means you're going to release very important nutrients to the soil, increasing the soil fertility. So you have what you call bacteria and fungi, such as the mushroom and toadstool. They are so good at decomposing and decaying matter. And this type of feeding is called saprophytism. Saprophytism. So plants and animals die. And we actually said that first the plants absorb. The plants absorb nitrates. While they've actually absorbed the nitrates, they actually make these nitrates to end up developing into what we call proteins. The proteins are actually able to be used by these plants, and some are actually stored. Animals feed on this plant, they also obtain those proteins. So when plants and animals die, they actually get decomposed. You see, through a process called saprophytism, through a feeding type called saprophytism, a mode of feeding called saprophytism. By who? Bacteria and fungi. At the end of the day, they release nutrients to the soil. Look at that. These nutrients are able to actually get absorbed by these plants as well to make other proteins. You see, and sometimes you will actually find a situation where some microorganisms can convert now the useful nitrates into nitrites, and further from nitrites to nitrogen gas, or from nitrates to ammonia, then from ammonia to nitrogen gas. So something else to note, we have what we call Pseudomonas and Thiobacillus. So Pseudomonas and Thiobacillus, denitrificans. So Pseudomonas denitrificans and Thiobacillus denitrificans are the two main types of bacteria that can be able to convert nitrates and even nitrites back to nitrogen gas. So they lower soil fertility by converting the nitrates and nitrites, which are supposed to be very useful to the plants in the making of proteins, back to a form that plants cannot use in making proteins, called nitrogen. The process is referred to as denitrification. Denitrification. So denitrification is where Pseudomonas denitrificans and Diobacillus denitrificans can be able to convert nitrates and nitrites that can get utilized by the plants to make proteins into nitrogen that cannot get utilized into a form that can actually resemble proteins. So this nitrogen, once formed through this process called denitrification, it is actually able to get released back into the atmosphere. That's all about the nitrogen cycle, and thank you so much for your time in as far as what we've actually had in our lesson. And I just want to look at this question, then be able to see what we are supposed to give us the answers. So name the processes W, X, and Y. So process W is called absorption. Why? The nitrates are getting absorbed by the plants to get used in the making of proteins. Correct. Process X, where the ammonium ions are getting converted into nitrate. This is called nitrification. Okay. Process Z, where the nitrogen in the atmosphere is getting converted into nitrate ions. And that means it can be either through the lightning process, for example, when there's lightning, and that means the nitrogen first combines with oxygen to give us nitrogen 4 oxide. This gas dissolves in rainwater to give us nitric 5 acid and nitric 3 acid. Nitric 3 acid can further get oxidized to nitric 5 acid. Majorly, when it rains, this rainwater, which is acid rain, percolates into the soil. At the end of the day, the nitrates get absorbed by the plants using their roots and use them to manufacture proteins during food making or protein synthesis in the plants. And you can also have what you call symbiosis, where literally you can actually end up having a process where nitrogen gets converted into ammonia. I've told you, Rhizobium bacteria or nitrogen fixing bacteria can directly convert nitrogen into ammonia or ammonium ions. These ammonium ions can further get converted into nitrate ions. These ions can get absorbed by the plants to get used in the making of what? Proteins. So the conversion of nitrate ions into nitrogen is called denitrification. And a relationship between plants and animals is feeding. And both plants and animals undergo a process called 1. Death and decay, or death and decomposition, or death and saprophytism. You see, to end up giving us ammonium ions that can further get converted into nitrate ions. So the conversion of this nitrogen in the atmosphere back to nitrate ions can actually literally be able to get called lightning, you see, where acid rain can get formed, you see. And at the end of the day, that's just a form of nitrification that can also be able to give us nitrate ions, which are very useful in the making of proteins. Thank you so much. They have said, which two organisms make process Y successful? Y involves animals and plants dying and getting what? Decomposed through what we call saprophytism. This requires the presence of bacteria and fungi such as mushroom and toadstool. Thank you so much.